Woo. Hello, hello, hello. All good?
All good.
All right. So
Check,
we
check.
met last week. Today we're going to talk about entrepreneurship and enablement of Web3 development. So I'm Patrick with VideoAmp, obviously Kelly and Kate. Why don't you introduce yourselves, what you're doing?
Thanks for having me here today. My name is Kate Brady. I have been with PepsiCo for about 13 years now, always in some sort of a marketing role. I just recently took on this new role within the organization. We are a new division within the organization, leading next-gen D2C connections and innovation, where we are doing a number of different areas, but identifying white space opportunities from a technology perspective, building a global consumer rewards engine, as well as leading our Web3 COE. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes.
Yeah, and hi everyone, Kelli McCarthy. As of 9 days ago, I am the global director overseeing Web3 at PepsiCo. I've spent 8 years at Pepsi in various roles, digital innovation, running media, and then prior to PepsiCo, led e-commerce marketing for Ralph Lauren. So from cashmere to carbonated beverages, I like to say is my subtitle.
Nice. So you're at a very large organization. This title of this speak is called Entrepreneurship. So could you give us the cliff notes of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I'd love to. So prior to this current role, I was leading global media innovation and partnership development for the organization, where we worked really closely with the startup community to identify new tech platforms that we could bring to the organization and really drive that change. That really led us to understand the entrepreneur type of mindset. And I think when we're launching this new team within the organization, it gives us this opportunity to take that same startup mindset, that entrepreneur mindset, but within a massive organization. And so what we've done as a part of this next-gen D2C team, which is broader than just our pillar, we've brought people from all different disciplines across PepsiCo. So we've got someone leading a technology pillar from IT. We've got someone from finance leading our finance pillar. We've got someone from sales who's helping just onboard from a sales perspective. Someone from the e-com division leading our new platforms. Myself coming from marketing, so now I sit in strategy. I no longer sit in marketing, but it's that I'm that conduit to the marketing organization. And so we're taking that same mentality of bringing together all of these people that have these unique skill sets to help drive this ambition of building this new team, being really scrappy in our model and our ways of working and really agile in the process. And we're seeing a lot of great success there. So that's how we see ourselves, as this entrepreneur within a massive organization.
And I'll add that even though Kate and I, as a Web3 team, we're small and mighty, we're very bullish on sort of the tech behind everything. It reminds me of my early days at Ralph and Web 2.0. This will date me, 2007. We had one employee running social media, a single employee for a multi-billion-dollar brand. And I remember our leadership team saying things like, you know, what's Instagram? Do we think it's going to take off? Let's ask the social media girl. And, you know, lo and behold, it did take off, became a huge revenue driver for them. And so more media dollars and staff went to social media girl. I feel like Kate and I are the Web3 girls at PepsiCo, right? It's very reminiscent of those early days where there's, you know, it's not mainstream yet. Not a lot of people know what Web3 is. There's a lot of skepticism around it, but with that, a lot of opportunity, massive amounts of opportunity for the brands that are willing to jump in, and we want to be one of those brands.
Yeah, and I would just build on that too, is, you know, we are leading the Web3 COE, but we are very careful not to call ourselves a center of excellence. Yeah. We like to refer ourselves as the center of enablement, because we think it's a bit presumptuous for us to say that we are excellent at anything that is such a nascent space. So really, our jobs is to shepherd the organization on this journey into this new space, to educate the organization, to really help drive that so that we're being compliant with the very little regulation that currently stands, but that we're not putting ourselves as PepsiCo as an organization at risk, so that we can just continue to grow and build these capabilities and learn and continue to drive more optimal results.
That's awesome. You're wearing many cowboy hats in the startup. I thought of that on stage. So, so all right, we're at Web3. Can you take us a little bit through the path of Web 2 to Web 2.5 and where we are now? I think it's nascent, very new for a lot of us. So if you could walk us through, Kelly.
I mean, the way I describe it to my daughter, who's 4, right, is Web 1 was read-only, right? I go to a website, I read something. Web 2 is participatory. We become part of the community. We're interacting. It's social media. Web 3 is really about the ownership of your data, and I'll talk about more of that when we talk about the privacy stuff. But the opportunities are endless when you open up that door.
Yeah, there's a ton of untapped consumer potential, I guess you could say. Okay, so what's the goal, I guess, or the primary focus of exploring Web3 as for Pepsi as an organization?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we sit in this broader team, the Next Gen D2C team, and our role is really about driving connections and innovation in this space. And so we're broadening the definition of what D2C is. It's not just about commerce, but really more about driving consumer engagement. So we're really focused on driving consumer engagement. And our remit for the broader team is about building those two-way connections across all of our consumer touch points. So whether that's traditional platforms or new platforms like Web3 or metaverse experiences, but we see Web3 being a really key driver to unlocking that deeper, more immersive, more connected experience with these consumers. And we heard from Coinbase, Kate, just talking about like having insight into wallet information, being able to really personalize those experiences. We see this as a massive unlock to just be much more in touch with exactly what our consumers are looking for to build those meaningful relationships in the future.
Got it. Okay. So there's a lot of challenges, right, with fragmentation, people leapfrogging from one place to the next. So, Kelly, with your recent history at media, Pepsi, can you talk a little bit about the challenges?
I mean, I spent most of my career in cookie-based audience targeting, right? Like that's all we did. And the landscape is changing. It's becoming more fragmented. Cookies are a thing of the past. So we have to think about new ways to connect with our consumers. That's why I'm so excited about Web3. It allows us as brands to see your interests and see your behaviors, but you, as Patrick Fitzgerald, can stay anonymous. You don't have to tell me who you are. You don't have to give me your bank account information. But it just unlocks so many opportunities. And yeah, we're excited about it.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's a lot to be said. So would you consider Web3 a silo, or is that more of like, I don't know, how would you describe?
So no, the way we think about it is we want it to be additive to what the brands are doing. We don't want it to be thought of as a silo or just like a PR buzzworthy thing. We want it to be additive to what our brands are doing in the Web 2 world and the traditional world. We want to add on to those tentpole moments.
So we have had a long-standing relationship with Call of Duty, or partnership between Mountain Dew and Call of Duty with Activision. We also are a big sponsor of the Subliners Esports League. They're a league based out of Brooklyn, and they had a major event that was going on in July of this past year. This majors event was happening at the King's Theater in Brooklyn. We had a great idea to Kelly's point about this being additive to the experience. This really shouldn't be done in a silo. Is how do we make these in real life activations much more immersive and much more scalable to people beyond who can really come down to King's Theater and experience this Call of Duty majors? And how do we get more people in the fold who are interested in maybe Call of Duty, or maybe people who are interested in Web3 but to get this exposure? So in rapid pace, I can't believe we pulled this off, but we worked with our partner at NYXL in roughly 6 weeks' time, which I don't recommend anyone to do. But we pulled together this campaign where we brought that same experience that was happening in King's Theater, but in a much more immersive way, where there was a viewing party going on in Decentraland. We had a 3-story space that we built out, completely branded. I mean, Dew's got some amazing assets with its neon color and the charged, the way that it looks and comes to life is really explosive. And so we started putting together some wearables that we were giving out as a part of the Decentraland activation. We had influencers coming in. We had carnival-type games that you could come in and experience. So rather than just going to King's Theater and watching an eSport event, you could actually watch the eSport event, talk with some of these gamers, experience it some more, and then own some assets that we were giving away. We also had a sweepstakes going along with it that you could get a Clonex NFT. And if anybody's familiar with Clonex, they're pretty valuable. So this was, a highly valuable, sought-after asset that we were giving away for participants going into this space. Now, I know that Decentraland is relatively small scale compared to when you're thinking about Roblox, things like that. But this is the time where we're testing and learning, and this gave us an opportunity to really experience this space, where throughout the weekend that we did this experience in Decentraland, we had over 60% of the people that were coming into Decentraland pass through our space. Our wearables sold out in no time, where they were actually, a lot of people kept them, and then were able to be our brand ambassadors throughout the Decentraland space with this. I mean, you can't miss that that's a neon green dew sweatpants, or like the backpack that was actually like bottle rocket type of shooters. That gave you like jet propulsion type of experiences. And that's part of the thing. I'm going on a bit of a tangent, but that's part of the thing that I love about metaverse experiences, is that you don't have to confine to the guardrails of like real life. You can take these experiences. You can take something that's so awesome about Mountain Dew and just make it so much more, because people get it and they say that relates to the brand. But through this experience, we had over 60% of the people that were in Decentraland that weekend come through our space. We were able to expand the people who were part of the Call of Duty fan base to much more people that were in the Web3 space, and gave these people at King's Theater an experience to go and see this new Decentraland Web3 type of metaverse experience. And the people that were in this space spent over 15 minutes of time in our activation. When you're going through your Instagram scrolls, while we love Instagram, you're maybe getting 1 to 2 seconds of time on that feed. Yeah. But for people to really spend this time with our brands and really participating and engaging, and we're giving you an asset that now you own, you become that much more connected to our brand. And there were people that were able to profit from these wearables. They were selling them on OpenSea for some money. So that's another great opportunity that gives you value, and it's all about that value exchange. And so through this experience, we were able to get a ton of learnings. We were able to get a ton of engagement. People spent a lot of time with we were able to expand who we were able to participate with. And we've taken this space. We just recently reskinned it and did a whole new activation for Doritos with Triangle Studio that just launched around Super Bowl. So we're also able to get the insight of the people that were at this Decentraland activation. Are they the same people that came back to Doritos? Or what are the differences in there? How are their wallets different? And it's a lot of insight that you could never get in the Web 2 space that makes us so excited about what this space has to offer.
The speed at which you're learning is pretty insane.
It really is.
So this center of enablement, it seems like it's a newer thing, right? You're celebrating a lot of maybe failures and learning fast. Why is it important now for Pepsi to be kind of looking into this type of consumer engagement?
Well, I mean, I think, like I said, this is the time to test and learn.
Yeah.
When it is so new, you can fail a little bit easier than you can when people have really scaled in the space and people are expecting a bit more, especially from brands like within the PepsiCo portfolio. But I also am a big proponent of, I think you need big brands like our PepsiCo portfolio brands to help propel the space forward. And I think it's really critical for us to continue to test and learn, because it helps drive more brands to participate. And really, I think, rising tides lifts off ships here.
Right.
And we really need other brands to participate so that we get some learning and we can get some practices. Another thing we didn't talk about in our prep, but we spend so much time with legal just trying to work through what we can and can't do in this space. And the more brands that are participating in this space, the more we're going to learn about what is acceptable, where we can take some risk, what we can push. Because right now like I said, there's zero regulation. So we would love some more regulation so that it helps us propel that forward even more.
And I think another reason why we're testing is because our consumer base is aging out of traditional media. My 9-year-old nephew, for instance, only wanted Roblox gift cards. He will never create a Facebook account, right? Like that's shifted just in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And so we have to do things like this to reach new consumers. And this example was one of them, where we brought new consumers to the Dew community that may have never otherwise, well, I hope they would have heard of Mountain Dew, but maybe otherwise never experienced it in other outlets.
Right. So so we didn't get to see the video, but what it does show is that it's bringing all these people together in a similar experience. Y'all have a direct line, or at least I think the chairman is getting updates from y'all about what's going on. So how is this impacting like brand loyalty within PepsiCo? Or
I think it's a big opportunity for us, and we heard Kate from CoinDesk talk about loyalty as well, and I think we see that as a huge opportunity as a part of our broader next gen D2C team, and I think you're going to hear that. I mean, I think it's one of the buzzier areas of CPG marketing moving forward is how do we really embrace loyalty? And I'm a big proponent that I think blockchain technology or Web3 technology is going to be a massive unlock to a better experience from a loyalty perspective. And the fact
for brands and consumers.
For brands and consumers, because that ownership aspect is really critical. And the fact that what Starbucks is doing is fantastic. The fact that they're giving ownership over your assets, that you have the ability to trade that. You become much more valuable within of that brand if you have an ownership stake of what that's there. And I think it gives us the opportunity to do things more like token-gated experiences and to be able to do tokenized rewards in a much more secure and transparent way than we do in the traditional current models.
And any data that you give us, you consent to give us, right? So it feels more trustworthy, more authentic. So it's a win-win.
Like democratizing data. Well, that was it. That's all the questions. I really appreciate and honored to be a part of this, and I think everybody else appreciates your insights. So thank you, and
thank you.
Thanks for inviting us.
We do have a couple quick minutes if anyone has questions.
Sure.
For those of you that are new to the crew, your name and where you're from, please, or that you don't get the microphone.
Hi, I'm Megan. I'm from Susie. I have a question for you guys. Just knowing there's such a broad range of brands within the PepsiCo portfolio, it seems like a brand like Mountain Dew is like a natural fit for the metaverse. A lot of gamers drink Mountain Dew. As you think about like shepherding brands into this space, do you feel like there is permission for all of the brands within the portfolio to play there, or are there certain brands where you want to take that bet first?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I think it goes back to it needs to layer on to what the brand is doing in Web 2.0 traditional means. I don't foresee Pure Leaf entering the metaverse anytime soon, but I could be wrong. I used to do media for Pure Leaf. I think it has to feel authentic to what the brand's mission is, to what their tent poles are, and we see Web3 as just additive, right?
And I think that there's a lot of opportunity, but it's to what is the right swim lane. And so we're working really closely with all of our different brands to ensure that they're not cannibalizing on each other's efforts and really finding the appropriate way to go into it. But we have such a great portfolio of amazing brands that do have unique propositions that they can bring. Like we've done some great experiences with Life Water and NFT artwork. We've done things with Pepsi and their mic drop efforts. The Dew has done some amazing things here. Cheetos, we did some really like mischievous type of space around Halloween and Horizon Worlds. So we've done some really great experiences, but always tailoring it to what the brand's ethos is and making sure that it feels authentic to what they're doing. And everything that we're doing is really about being consumer first. And what is the value that our brands are bringing to the consumer experience here? Otherwise, it's not worth doing.
Yeah, not just for PR or headline sake. We want to make sure that there's value.
How you doing? Thank you guys so much for being here. My name is Max, and I help lead the Metaverse Technologies team at PwC. So you mentioned right at the beginning that you guys feel like you're starting a startup within a tried and true company. So similar situation. And I'd love to hear... Yeah, I'd love to hear kind of your thoughts in that process as you kind of change the minds of people internally in the company so you're able to bring it to your portfolio of brands.
Well, since Kelly's only 9 days in, I can take this one. But so I think for us, it's been a lot of education, and it's a lot of cross-functional just connections. And And I do think that education has been the key, really, driver here. I have done more Web3 101s, just more, AMA type of conversations, just to get people comfortable with what we're trying to do, to see the value of what this can bring, and to see what we see as future forward opportunities. So I think it's just, this is what we can do now. This is what we think we can do in the future, and really having a strong business case of why it's really necessary.
Thank you. I'm Ken from Iterable. That was the first half of my question. The second is, having done that before and kind of done a startup inside of a big company, it felt like mashing two different speed gears together. How have you structured your team to kind of handle wanting to run at startup speed, but then plugging into a PepsiCo legal department, something like that?
Well, it goes back to the being able to hire people from disparate backgrounds. I understand the PepsiCo inner workings and the network and the legality around everything that we do. So I'm one part of the team, but we are also looking in the degen space that we're hiring these people who are authentically Web3 natives that live and breathe in the Discords and the Twitter spaces and really know that world. And it's really about collaborating together, really, to make the best.
Kelly's 100% right. It's that blend of the knowing PepsiCo and the degen nature. We are hiring. That is a plug. Yeah. There is a posting out there. We have an associate manager role that we are actively hiring for. So welcome. If anybody has interest, please hit us up.
Hi, great job, by the way. Thank you. My name is Dan. I'm from Iris, an agency here and elsewhere. It's a big risk to take on a role at an innovative part of a traditional company. Obviously, you've made a big bet on yourselves to do that. What do you see as the future where maybe your team is even leading PepsiCo in some of the thoughts and decisions they make? And what are some of the overall ultimate goals that you're hoping to achieve?
Remember my example of social media girl? It's going to be Web3 team. It's 10 years from now, we're going to be having a very different conversation about what Web3 looks like within PepsiCo.
And that is our ambition. And I mean, maybe I'm being presumptuous here. I do see us already leading that charge within the organization. We've got some great partners. I see our friends from Vayner back there. But we've got some great partners helping us drive this agenda, but we are leading that charge within the organization on a global scale, which, to be honest, and I tell Kelly all the time, we're herding cats right now because there's a lot of different disparate efforts going on that we're trying to rein things in so that they don't put us at risk from a compliance perspective. But at the same time, now the organization does recognize they need to come through us to ensure that, not only do we have the insight to help drive what, we think is the best opportunity, but also to keep us in the right path.
I think it's also helpful to have leadership support, right? This is a pillar of Ramon's, right, our CEO. So without that, it would be much more difficult.
Hey, hi Kate, hi Kelly. Great talk. And I think I just want to build on the conversation.
Real quick, who are you?
Oh, sorry, Rahul. I worked with Reckitt for some time. So I just want to build on the point that you said, CEO support. How do you have that discussion on how much investment allocation to be done, and how do you show the ROI of it over the course?
It's all about building the business case. Right now, the KPIs are limited, so we don't have a true ROI to measure it. But we're working with measurement partners to say, how can we measure this and compare it to the previous effort? How can we continue to grow? We are, as a part of our next gen D2C team, a big component of what we're doing is onboarding a global CDP. We see Web3 as another key enabler of helping drive that. And the more zero first party records, which is, all of our efforts in Web3 is helping us drive that and acquire more zero first party data, helps us onboard that CDP so that collectively we're going to make the organization stronger because we're going to just have that much better insights to personalize our messages and connect with our consumers in that two-way engagement that I spoke to at the beginning.
I'm going to ask Tracy Elder. I work for Self-Esteem Brands. Yes, you're welcome. It's a parent company, Anytime Fitness. I'm curious to go home to my team and try to explain in words that my mom would understand what Web3 is, right? And you did a really good job of leading me through it's a brochure, it's just readable, is Web 1. Web 2 is community, I'm participating, whatever. Yesterday at South by, Amy Webb said that, the internet is dead and that everything is information now. Everything is information, and it's about, what if in the future you don't search the web, the web searches you, and that's how she was starting to describe Web3. How would you? Is there another way to describe it to my mom? Because I think it's going to be like, I can't describe something that's not the internet because I don't really know what it is, right? Like, how do I tell them? What is it? Is it everything? Do I wear a microchip in my? What do you guys think about this? I'm so curious.
You're in it right now.
Yes,
Tracy.
you're in it.
Oh my God.
We are all in it.
I tried to explain this to my 65-year-old mom the other day, and it's hard because there's different parts. The way we think about Web3 is it's not just cryptocurrency. It's not just NFTs. It's not just AI. It's not just metaverse. It's really this underlying blockchain technology foundation and the immersive experiences that go around
and the decentralization.
The decentralization where you own your own data and it becomes interoperable between the apps and sites and everything that you do online, right? On the web. But
that's absolutely right. And the one build I would say that was a big aha for me when I was really starting to go down the rabbit hole is when you think about your social media. So say you're on Facebook and you've got your memories. They're precious to me when every day I love to see what memories are going to come up. Facebook can decide that you violated their standards and then shut your account down. You no longer have access to any of those memories, any of your past history, because they own that data. Within a Web3 space, it is decentralized across the blockchain. So there is no way for one entity to be able to take your data from you. You own it, and it's distributed across all of the network. So this is the opportunity that you're owning your data because it is put across this decentralized blockchain technology versus massive corporations like Meta or Google or some of the others owning your data and having that right to tell you when or to really give it to you or not. So that was the big unlock for me to say, like, I want to be able to have that for me. I don't want something to be saying that I violated a standard or, you know, whatever, it's going to cut off my account and I no longer have access.
it's
So for
easier
me,
to describe after a couple drinks, so find me after, because I haven't had one yet.
All right. Any other questions? We do have one repeat offender, but I told her if there's a first-time question, you get it first. All right, you're in.
Okay, I'm back.
Still
Do I still have to say my name? Okay, Megan again from Susie. Question for you in terms of like how you're getting smart and staying on kind of on the nose with this landscape because it's changing. I know you mentioned you're hiring a lot of people that are like Web3 natives, but you're 9 days into the role. Like, what are you reading? Where are you going?
My homework looks very different than it does in the media, like reading the media trades, right? I listen to Twitter Spaces instead of the news some days. I'm figuring out that that Discord is not just the dark web. Like, there's a ton of information there. So it's constant education. We're learning as the space evolves, which is a very fun and exciting place to be.
And there's a lot of great podcasts out there that we listen to.
Academy.
Yeah, Web3 Academy, Web 2.5, CoinDesk has a great one. You know, there's you just put in Web3 onto podcasts and you'll find a ton.
And to Kate's point, nobody's an expert. So yeah, we're learning together.
You sure fooled us. I mean, if that's not even expert level, I'm like, oh, shit, I'm way far from expert. All right, one more quick question.
Hi, Mike. I'm actually here representing an NFT project, so I have a lot of questions, but I'll just ask one. Is there anything currently that you found that you're staying away from? Like, absolutely not there just yet in this space?
Yeah, I mean, we initially, when we started this journey, we were like, okay, we see NBA Top Shot making $1 billion plus in the NFT market space. We're like, this is going to be the next new net revenue stream for us as PepsiCo. We're going to be able to sell assets. We've pivoted away from that. I wouldn't say that we are never going to sell anything. That's definitely not on our roadmap. We are still interested in their revenue-driven opportunities, but at this point, we're more focused on brands just driving value to the to the consumer and doing that shared value exchange versus us charging for NFTs. Again, I'm not going to be quoted to say we're never going to sell an NFT or a wearable or an asset or something at this point, though. We've pivoted away from that being a big focus to being more focused on just community building, value exchange, and really that loyalty is a big area that we're focused on.
You have something to add? No?
I was just going to mention, like, even when we do, though, a free NFT drop, it does sell on the secondary market for, like, I don't know, 0.2 ETH or something now is the Pepsi mic
And to
drop.
further complicate it is the security risk at this point. Our legal team sees everything as a big security risk, so there's very limited that we will do because we just don't want to get hit by the SEC and say that we're violating any standards.
Awesome. All right. You know the drill. Loud round of applause. I want heads. Thank you.